Your brain doesn't know the difference between an event that you have closed your eyes and imagined and an event that you've actually done. And so here's what's really cool. What I just told you is manifesting. Seriously, manifesting done correctly is when you use your procedural memory as a tool to train your brain, your nervous system, your spirit to help you feel motivated and to help you do the work that actually changes your life. How cool is that? I want to be very clear about something. Manifesting gets a bad rap because of the law of attraction, but manifesting is not woo-woo at all. It's not a cheesy topic. Manifesting is not just think about something that you want and suddenly it'll magically appear. No. Manifesting is when you use your procedural memory and you visualize the step-by-step actions that you need to take in order to make your big goal or the thing that you want or the new habit to become a reality. You see, manifesting isn't the end, everybody. Manifesting is the bridge. It's the series of actions that you're going to take in order to have this new habit.
Need motivation?
You better watch a Top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle.
But you know you're capable of more, and you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best.
So today, let's learn from one of the best, Mel Robbins, and my take on her top 10 rules for
success.
Rule number 2, be a good influence.
When I hear the word leadership, I think about influence. So let's first talk about what does the word influence actually mean, okay? So influence is the power that you have to affect the actions, behaviors, and opinions of other people. In short, it means you have the influence to move somebody from point A to point B. Now, there are two kinds of influence that all leaders have. Internal influence, and that's the power that you have over yourself. And in my opinion, this type of influence is the single most important type of influence to practice and cultivate that will impact your ability to impact others. Internal influence is your ability to move yourself from point A to point B. Because one of the things about being a great leader is knowing how to be flexible, knowing how to change, knowing how to pivot, knowing how to grow. And that means you've got to have influence over yourself. The other type of influence is external influence. And that is your ability to move other people from point A to point B. We all have had these experiences, right, where we've been around other leaders. We've been around people that have had that implied influence, right, because of their position, because of their title. But I guarantee you've had the experience where you've had to work for or been around another leader, but they have not been that influential on you. They were either a jerk or a micromanager, or they showed up in a way that made you feel awful. You have had that experience. And one of the reasons why I want to hammer home this point, that it doesn't matter who you are, where you are, what you do. Leadership, the best kind of leadership and the most powerful kind of influence is the type that's earned. It has nothing to do with your position. It has nothing to do with your title. It has everything to do with how you show up and the way in which you treat other people. I want you to understand that the most important aspect of raising your influence and of becoming a better and a more influential leader is deciding that you want to be and claiming that leadership role in your life. When you look at leadership, and Brendan's right, it's super important that you're a student your whole life, that leadership is something that you should study. When you start to look into leadership, you're going to see that there's all kinds of books, there's all kinds of philosophies. There are servant-based leaders, there are transformational leaders, there are situational leaders, there are people who are authoritarian leaders. There's a bazillion different leadership styles. Well, what I want you to think about is, what kind of leader do you want to be? And there are two questions that I think are important for you to ask yourself. And the reason why it's important for you to ask yourself these two questions is because they will give you a roadmap that maps to your values and maps to your goals and maps to who you are in terms of cultivating a leadership style.
Rule number 3, learn the skill of
Confidence.
My definition of confidence is not belief in self. What you're going to learn about Mel Robbins is that I love evidence-based advice because I'm kind of skeptical. I was trained as a lawyer. Life has kicked me around a little bit. I kind of cross my eyes at people that are very kind of motivational. And, I'm like, well, it's easy to do the inspirational stuff, but what's the depth, right? What's the depth? And so when I think about confidence and my definition of confidence, I looked at the research on confidence, okay? And there's really good news here. The first thing you've already learned, it's a skill. The second thing that you are going to learn that's really good is it's very simple to build the skill of confidence. And you can do it through repetitive actions every day, very simple little things that will slowly build up the reservoir of confidence. And here's the definition I want to give you of confidence. Confidence is the willingness to try. That's it. I'm going to say it again. Confidence is the willingness to try. That's it. That's all that it is. And the reason why I like this definition is because this definition that I have created for confidence, which is the willingness to try, is based in the research around confidence. So if you want to learn more about this, Google confidence competency loop. Okay, I'm going to show it to you. I'm hoping that this is not broadcasting backwards. Okay, this is my fancy little graphic. Okay, this is what we call a confidence competency loop. I did not invent this. This is something that people who research confidence for a living have created. And I've highlighted this because this is where confidence begins. It begins with the willingness to try, because I'm going to show you what ends up happening if you're the kind of person who trains yourself. Notice the words I'm using, trains. We're not going to sit around and wait for motivation. We're not going to wait for courage. We're going to manufacture those things. And this is where the 5-second rule is so transformative. Now, for those of you that don't know it, I'm not going to spend a lot of time explaining it. I'm going to give you the shortcut. It's just a simple brain hack backed by tremendous evidence that I created at the worst moment of my life that turns out to have extraordinary science behind it. All you do is in a moment where you feel doubt, insecurity, fear, anxiety, procrastination, perfectionism, PTSD, OCD, anything that you might possibly have that would rise up to block you, you simply count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. And you got to count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And what that will do is it will shift gears in your mind. Instead of being stuck here in the part of the brain that keeps you stuck worrying and thinking and having a bias towards overthinking and being a perfectionist, you're going to go 1, 4, or 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you're going to try. Now, this is what's going to happen. The first time you try, you will fail. That's really good news. You want to know why? You learn by failing. You learn by failing. Do you realize that's how you've always learned? That when you were a kid, you don't remember this, but when you were learning to walk, you fell an average of 17 times an hour. You actually learned to walk by falling. And so you learn everything when you fail. Because when you fail, as much as you may think you're going to die, if you stand on a stage, I see a lot of you who want to be coaches or speakers or whatever, you're going to have to learn how to give a speech where you stutter and where your mouth gets really dry and pasty and where you get a neck rash and where you forget what you're supposed to say. You got to do all that stuff. Why? Because when you fail, you don't die. You actually gain knowledge and experience. And that's the gift of failure. because you then take that knowledge and that experience and you go right back to the next time. And then you try again. But this time when you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, try, you're going to take your knowledge and experience with you and you're going to fail a little bit less. And what you're going to learn there, you're going to take right back to the next time that you try. And every time that you fail, you're gaining knowledge and experience. And you take that to the next time that you try. And you're going to go like this, and you're going to go like this, and you're going to keep going and going and going and going and going. And every time you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you push yourself to try, you gain a little bit of competency for the next time you're going to do it. And every time you gain a little bit of competency, your mastery goes up. And that's when you start to feel more self-assured. And that muscle, everybody, of trying, that is where you build the skill of confidence, which is the willingness to not be so damn serious and hung up on being perfect and being worried about looking stupid. And instead, you're willing to lean in and try something.
Rule number 4, start changing.
What is it that you want to create or change in your life? Okay. I want you to write something down. It could be something tiny, that there's like a specific thing that you want to change, a specific habit, or it could be something really big. And it's important that we start there because I want you to have the thing that you want in mind as I'm talking, okay? What is it that you want to create in 2022? Wealth, stability. You want to stop procrastinating, right? You want to create independence. You want to feel like you're aligned. You want to get your education. You want to change your exercise and eating habits. You don't want to be a passenger in somebody else's life anymore. You want to be the driver of your own life. That's fantastic. And as I talk and as I teach, I want you to continue to think about this goal that you have, to think about this change that you want to make, okay? And what we're going to talk a lot about today is we're going to talk about this principle that I believe. And the principle is this: profound personal and professional change starts with you. That's right. Profound personal and professional change starts with you. And change starts with you because the most effective change starts from the inside out. Okay? And so as you think about a behavior change or a thinking pattern change that you want to make, or some sort of goal or dream, I want you to take everything that I'm about to teach you and have that example in mind, okay? So that everything that I'm talking about isn't just stuff I'm doing in my life, isn't just stuff that you read about when you look at the research in terms of habits and manifesting, but that you actually walk away with takeaway that is specific to what you want to achieve.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there.
Rule number 5, set new habits.
The reason why habits are so important, everybody, is because based on research, this is from a study that was published a couple of years ago, that 40% of your behavior are what we call habits. Habits, that's just another word for patterns, okay? And so I'm going to give you some examples of habits that you might not even think about are a habit, okay? And a pattern or a habit is simply a behavior pattern. We call them a loop, and I'm going to explain why. It's a behavior pattern that is stored in the subconscious part of the brain. You'll also often hear people talk about the basal ganglia. And the reason why you have habits is because your brain loves shortcuts. See, everything that your brain is doing and your nervous system is doing, we've talked a lot about this in other trainings, but everything that your brain and your nervous system is doing, it requires fuel. Just like your car requires fuel for you to be able to go from where you are right now to the grocery store, that's how it runs. Your brain requires fuel. And your brain has figured out ways to maximize the fuel and to be more efficient. And the way that your brain is more efficient is it learns habits and patterns. And when you have a habit or a pattern that you have memorized because you've repeated it so many times, it takes less fuel for your brain to reflexively do that pattern than doing something new. And I'll give you an example. This is something you can test out later today or tomorrow. I want you to think about like a place that you often bike or drive to. Maybe it's a grocery store, maybe it's work, maybe it's school, maybe it's a friend's house. Tomorrow, I want you to consciously drive an entirely new and different and longer way. And you will notice something. You will notice that your brain fights you. You will notice that your brain is annoyed. And you will notice that it takes more effort for you to think about where you're headed. Because the way that you commute to work or school or the grocery store, you have repeated that so many times. It is now a pattern or a habit loop stored in your brain. That's why often you get to places you always drive and you're like, oh my God, who drove the car? Because you don't remember driving the car because your brain was in the background making decisions that have already been automated. So the reason why that happens, just in summary, is because if you had to use your prefrontal cortex and focus on every aspect and every decision from how you pick up the toothbrush to how you hold a pencil to all that stuff, you literally would need to take a nap by 1 o'clock in the afternoon. You wouldn't be able to process that much new information. And so it's a way for your brain to take a break. It learns patterns, automates behaviors. So let me give you some examples of some habits you might not think about. Picture yourself sitting at the wheel of a car and you put the car in reverse. Which shoulder do you look over as you're backing up? It's always the same one, isn't it? And depending upon where you live in the world, it's one side or the other. It's always the same. You don't even think about it, do you? That right there is a habit. That is a reflexive action and pattern that you do without even thinking. Now think about your evening routine. Do you lock the door every night at home? Do you have a pattern or habit of things that you just go through in your house, reflect? You don't even think about it, right? You're not like, oh, it's time to lock the door. Where is the door? I can't remember how to do that. I better force it. No, you just get up, you walk to click the lock, and it's just a pattern that you do that is triggered by the end of the night. Here's the second thing I want you to know about patterns. Patterns repeat. Patterns repeat. If you don't interrupt a pattern and replace it with something else, the pattern will repeat forever. So learning new behaviors and learning new habits is a lot more about spotting the things that you don't want to do anymore and interrupting them, and then replacing those old patterns with new patterns. And I believe that when you start to feel broken or stuck in your life, you're not broken. You have a pattern from your past that makes you feel broken based on where you want to go now. And I also believe that when you feel stuck in life, you're not actually stuck. You're just stuck repeating these old patterns. And until you catch them and you interrupt them, which is where the 5-second rule comes in, there's nothing more powerful to help you interrupt an old pattern than counting backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, to interrupt the loop. But then you have to replace it with something else. Because if you don't replace the pattern, what's rule number 1 about patterns? Patterns repeat. So you can't just break a habit. Technically, you don't break a habit. Technically, you replace it with something else.
Rule number 6, plan your journey.
One of the things that has happened, certainly in the pandemic, but it always happens when there's any kind of reckoning in your life, is that when you have something suddenly happen and your life is fundamentally changed, whether it's a death, or somebody says, I don't love you anymore, or you're fired, or you find yourself with a scary health diagnosis, there is a line in the sand. There is a life before that happened, and then a life after that moment happened. And that line in the sand, that reckoning that happens, and it happens for all of us, whether it's happening for you right now, or it has happened in the past, I'm telling you, there is a gift inside of this, even the darkest moments, because every single sudden change in your life that makes you feel like you've lost control and you no longer know where you're going, it's like hitting the giant pause button. And if you lean into the moment, there is a chance for tremendous wisdom and growth. There are things that you can do right now in order to take control of where you're going, of what you're thinking about. And you can start to take this moment of change and you can use it to be able to take and make an intentional pivot in the direction that is meant for you next. And one of the things I want to say about this moment is, look, if you're losing loved ones, you are terrified, this has made you lose your job, you feel like you're in that moment where everything, you're falling off a cliff, you're trying to pack a parachute, you're grieving. And so you got to give yourself space to grieve the losses that you're feeling. And when you get a little bit of distance from the grieving and the waves of grief and fear that you're feeling start to space out. They don't ever leave you, but over time, those waves of, holy cow, and I don't want this, and I can't handle this, and why is this happening to me? Time will start to lessen those waves. You will gather your feet underneath you again, and you will absolutely be stronger and be a better version of yourself based on this incredible challenge that you're facing. And I can say that even though you may be facing a tough time, because if you think about your life, you've faced extraordinary challenges, and there hasn't been a single one that hasn't made you a better and stronger version of yourself. And this moment will be no different. So I want you to understand that when you get out of the cycle of grief, this is an enormous reckoning, an enormous opportunity for you to hit the pause button and for you to start to ask yourself the question, what do I want my life to look like? Because I think too many of us are sitting here going, I can't wait for my life to get back to normal. I can't wait for this to end. I can't wait to things to go back to normal. And in any moment of reckoning, what happens is there's actually parts of your old life that you don't want to go back to. And there is a tremendous amount that you're learning in this moment that you need to pause and take in and say, okay, based on what I've just learned, based on my old life, when I look ahead to my new life, what is it that I want my new life to look like? This next chapter, I can turn to a blank page, I can take all this wisdom, all this resilience, all this strength, and I can write something new. That's what I want you to know. You don't need to know where the world or where everything is headed. You just need to know where you're going to head next.
Rule number 7, set boundaries with people.
I used to be the kind of person that had zero boundaries. I mean, nada, nothing, zilch, nothing. In fact, there were periods of my life where it was worse than zero because I was so attached in romantic relationships that I literally would become like a human amoeba in my romantic relationships. I mean, I was like, literally, if it's possible to have negative boundaries, meaning you like somehow go in a totally different direction,
that was me. And so if somebody as insecure and as emotionally attached in relationships and as people-pleasing as me can figure out how to identify, communicate, and uphold boundaries in my life, you can learn how to do this too, okay? And so that's what we're gonna unpack in this video. So I think a big question, because a lot of people talk about boundaries, they know they need boundaries, but they don't have good boundaries. Why is that? Well, the reason why we don't have good boundaries is because none of us were trained how to set them. I mean, I want you to think about your childhood for a minute. Your childhood with your caregivers, your parents, your grandparents, whoever, it is naturally an imbalance, right? Like when you come into this world, you are born into a particular family. You're born into a particular culture, religion, economic situation, a place in the world, a race, like a religion. And based on where you were born and to whom you were born into in terms of the family structure, there were all kinds of rules that you had to follow. And if you did not follow those rules, there were consequences. And so can you imagine if you, as like an 8-year-old, started to try to express boundaries, literally, like mom cooks a pot roast dinner, and you cross your arms, you're like, mom, this is a boundary cross for me. I have decided that I am no longer eating meat. Your mom would probably go, guess what, youngster? You not eating dinner is a boundary crossing for me. You're not getting up from this table until you finish what's on your plate. And so saying boundaries when you're little doesn't really work for the adults in your life. And that's why you never learned how to do it. And by the way, your parents were probably never taught how to have boundaries either. And so I want to start at the very beginning, okay? Where do you even begin? Where do you even begin when it comes to learning how to set healthy boundaries, okay? So first things first, where you're going to begin is you're going to start to think about boundaries in a completely new way, okay? The number one mistake that we all make, I made it, you're making it right now, is when you think about boundaries, you are thinking about other people first, okay? You're thinking about boundaries and believing that your boundaries are rules in a relationship that define respect and that somehow your boundaries are going to control or change someone else's behavior. That is the exact opposite of how you should be thinking about boundaries, okay? I didn't realize this. This is why I was lousy at setting boundaries, because I thought that my boundaries control what other people do. No, 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 no. So how do I want you to think about boundaries, okay? Boundaries are rules that you create about your own behavior. And I'm going to take this a little bit further now. What I'm actually talking about is I'm going to help you identify situations, people, any kind of experience you might find yourself in where your boundary defines what you're going to do in reaction to something that's going on around you, okay? Because I think what I'm seeing a lot of online are two things. It's this sort of quick Instagram advice where it's like, you've crossed a boundary. You're a toxic person. You're no longer in my life. When the truth is, the behavior that we really need to be policing is our own. The opportunity for growth and the way that boundaries can support you is in looking at what you need to change when it comes to certain people, certain situations, or certain choices and habits that you have, okay? And we're going to unpack this, don't worry. But I really want to kind of land here, because if you start to turn the focus back on yourself, you're going to have a much easier time with applying the 5 rules around boundaries that I'm about to teach you. Okay, so rule number 1, always focus on yourself, what you will and what you won't allow, okay? Always focus on yourself, what you will and won't allow. Do not try to control other people, because you can't, okay? Think about boundaries as guardrails that you set for yourself. And I'm going to give you a quick example. We all have that relative that loves to hear them talk about politics, right? Like, it's super annoying. They're constantly going on and on about politics, okay? And you want
this relative of yours to stop talking about politics around you, okay? What if I told you that expressing a boundary with a relative, telling them to stop talking about politics around you, will probably only increase the likelihood that they're going to? And so the better way to think about boundaries is not, what do I need to say to Uncle Joe so that Uncle Joe does not talk about politics around me? That's not how you do this. You don't go, Uncle Joe, you're crossing a line with me. You're crossing a boundary. I need you to stop talking about politics. Let's just role play that for a minute. How do you think that's going to work? That ain't going to work very well, is it? No, because then Uncle Joe's going to flare up and then you're going to flare up. And now instead of having a boundary that you held, you've got a gigantic mess that's been made. Instead, you got to think about that boundary with you, okay? What are you going to do? And there are two examples of this. You could decide that if that relative starts sounding off about politics, that is a boundary for you, and you will remove yourself from the room. That's an example of how you can set a boundary. Another example is you could say something to Uncle Joe. And you could say, hey, Uncle Joe, I love you, and I'd love to have you over for dinner. But if you plan on talking about politics when we're together, we're not going to have dinner. You have defined what you will tolerate and not. You didn't say, do not talk about politics. You said, I love you. If we're going to have dinner together, I'd love to have you over for dinner, but not if we're talking politics. You've given Uncle Joe the option to talk politics or not. You've just made it clear where you stand, which is we're not having dinner together if you opt to do that. Do you see how that's about your behavior? You've made it clear what you're going to do, but Uncle Joe now has a choice to either respect the boundary or not.
Rule number 8, build integrity.
Fulfillment is when you're satisfied because you are fully developing your deepest desires and your character. Fulfillment's very different than happiness, everybody. Happiness comes and goes. Happiness is fleeting. Happiness is like the waves in an ocean or the waves on Lake Michigan, the Great Lakes here in the United States, which is where I grew up, on Lake Michigan. The waves, they come and they go, right? That's happiness. It comes and it goes. It rolls in and out of your life. And oftentimes it feels like it's out of your control. Fulfillment is the ocean or the Great Lakes itself. Fulfillment is something way deeper. And fulfillment is about integrity and meaning. And the fact that when you have integrity and meaning in your life, you are fulfilled, you are satisfied because you are fulfilling and fully developing your deepest desires and your character. And this is important. And I'm going to really hammer these words around meaning and, more importantly, integrity. If I had to pick one word that was important when it comes to you deepening your level of fulfillment with your whole life, the word is integrity. Now, this was brand new to me. You know, I always thought about fulfillment like, oh, find your joy, find your passion, find your purpose. Like, then you'll be fulfilled. Do things that you love, you'll be fulfilled. It actually has more to do with integrity, which is really cool. And, you know, when I explain why integrity is so important, it's also going to illuminate all the places in your life where you're not fulfilled, because I guarantee you, the places in your life where you're missing fulfillment are also lacking personal integrity. You're not operating consistently with what you care about. You're not operating with integrity in terms of your values. You're not spending your time, your energy, and your resources on what truly aligns with you from an integrity standpoint. And so that's why we're going to continue to hammer this word integrity. Okay. And that's great because when you start to think about cultivating personal integrity and how that translates to more fulfillment in your life, it's going to make that fulfillment something that you can control. It's going to make it deeply personal. It's going to make it something that you can move the needle on. It puts the locus of control within your reach. Let me talk about the two mistakes that everybody makes, okay, when it comes to fulfillment. And this is why fulfillment in some areas of your life are out of reach right now. The number one mistake that we make, if you're struggling with fulfillment in any area of your life, is that you're not living according to your own values. You know, I think we've all gone through those periods of our lives where we are drinking too much, or we're spending too much money, or we're hanging out with the wrong people, or we're making unhealthy choices. And you know deep down inside that this is not what you want to be doing. It's not what you should be doing. But because you are not living based on your own values, you don't respect yourself. There's no way you are going to live a fulfilled life if at the base level, you don't respect the choices that you're making. So can you identify an area of your life right now, either in the chat or in the journal function in the app, an area of your life where you are not living according to your own values? I see health coming up for people. I'm sure if you think about how you're spending your money, or whether or not you're saving money, you're not aligned with your values. Maybe you're doing work. I see productivity. I see exercise. So if you're not living according to your own values, this is one reason why you're not going to be fulfilled in your life. The second thing is that you spend your time and your resources on things that actually don't matter to you. You're spending your time and your resources on things that don't matter to you at the deepest level. These are the two big mistakes that we all make. And the good news here is that these are mistakes that you can easily identify, that you can address. And when you do, you take control back and you will amp up the level of fulfillment that you feel. I'm going to say this again. Fulfillment is not the same thing as happiness. Fulfillment is meaning and integrity. And that's why habit number one and building a foundation is about values, because you will only find fulfillment, true, lasting, deep fulfillment, everybody, if you are following your values like a compass, not your mood. You got to follow your values and let that be your compass. That's how you build the proper foundation. And so what does that mean? What does that mean, everybody? Well, it means you got to figure out what matters to you, okay? And then you must develop the simple discipline to spend your time and energy on things, people, experiences that align with what matters to you. Living with integrity to what matters to you is the secret of fulfillment. And I think, I've alluded to this earlier, but, I can think about times in my life when either what I was doing for work or what I was doing with my free time did not align with my values.
Rule number 9.
Have fun in life.
I haven't lost anybody that I love. So I would not say what I'm about to say if somebody that I loved had died in this pandemic. But I have found the great pause that the last 2 months have forced me to take to be the greatest gift that I have received in the last decade. My kids have been home. I have been off the road. I have been forced to slow down. I have been reminded of what actually matters: your health, your family, your friends, what you're doing to take care of your mind and your body and your spirit, and making sure that you do something with the time that you have
that you really, really enjoy. And the other thing that it's really made me stop and think about is making sure that I'm having fun, that my whole life isn't just work. And it's made me really start to think about the fact that I don't want to go back to the life that I was living before the pandemic hit. How many of you feel that way? That this has been a gigantic mental perspective switch reset button that has, boom, hit you really hard.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is prioritize sleep.
The things that you need to do in order to increase wellness, confidence, purpose, a sense of control when it comes to day-to-day habits in your home life or at work are really boring on their face. And so I am coming out of the gates to say that because the more successful I have become, the happier I have become, the more boring my life looks on paper. I'm not kidding. The things I'm about to share with you are not sexy. They are not exciting, but they are the foundation for everything that you want and that you deserve in your life. So we're going to talk first, okay, when it comes to wellness, about something that you may not think a lot about. Because when you're building a business, when you're going for your dreams, when you are pursuing a big, passionate life, you think about all the stuff that you're doing, right? One of the most important things when it comes to wellness strategies for home and for work is sleep, period. The more successful that I've become, the more boring my life looks and the more sleep that I get. My husband and I are in bed by 9:30 on most nights. And the reason why is because I know the science around sleep. Now, it's kind of boring to tell it to you, so I'm going to just give you some of the highlights. It is impossible for your brain, for your body, and for your spirit to do what it's been designed to do if you have not given it the rest that it deserves. The research on this is just something you can't argue with. It is so horrible for your brain when you do not get a good night's sleep. The research shows that not only does it impact your mood, but when you do not have enough sleep, let's talk with, an all-nighter. If you've ever pulled an all-nighter, I used to be the queen of the all-nighters in college and in law school. When you pull an all-nighter, the all-nighter's impact on your brain is the equivalent to head trauma. It actually shrinks your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that you need in order to be able to focus, in order to be able to learn new behavior. And so sleep is essential. If you want to be successful, you must prioritize your sleep. If you want a sense of wellness and in health, you must prioritize your sleep. I read this study once that if you've got 3 days in a row where you get less than 6 hours of sleep at night, it is the equivalent of being legally drunk when it comes to your speed of processing, your ability to focus. And so one of these foundational principles when it comes to your success and your wellness, both at home and at work, is you making sleep a serious priority. So what are some tactical takeaways? I'm going to steal something from Brendan that he posted that you may have seen on his Instagram page, because it is an excellent summary of what we call a wind down routine. Morning routines right now are all the rage. How many of you have a morning routine, right? You rely on your morning routine. How you set your day up is how the day ends up. But your morning routine doesn't begin in the morning, everybody. It begins the night before. It begins with you going to bed at a reasonable hour, and it begins with you completing your day and winding your day down in a way that sets you up for success. Brendan posted this post that I just love that he called the 3-2-1 formula. 3 hours before bed, you stop eating. 2 hours before bed, you stop working. 1 hour before bed, no more screens. And you want to know why? Anything that's on a screen is somebody else's dream. Your dreams deserve a great night's sleep. Your dreams deserve your focus and attention. And so I want you to be mindful about how you wind down your day. The 3-2-1 principle from Brendan. We're stealing it here. 1 hour beforehand, you're going to turn off your screens. The next thing that I want you to do is absolutely no phone in the bedroom. You're going to hear me talk about this incessantly. And the reason why is you're addicted to it. This does not belong in your bedroom, okay? And the reason why I don't want it in the bedroom is because I want you to have a good night's sleep. And if this is in arm's reach, you're going to lay in bed and look at it. And that's going to interrupt your ability to sleep. In addition, the blue light for this on the phone, even when you're asleep, it interrupts your ability to drift into the deeper REM sleep. And you want to know the actual purpose of sleep, everybody. It has to do with focus. This is so fascinating when you understand it. Of course, we know that you need rest, right? Of course, we know that you've got to put yourself to bed so that your body can rest. You need it. But do you know the real reason why your brain needs you to sleep? I'm going to tell you. When you're asleep, half of your brain can turn off and go into an autopilot mode. And the other half of your brain gets to go to work doing something critically important for your success. While this part of the brain is on autopilot and asleep, this part of the brain takes your experience from today and starts filing away all of the things that happened to you today, all the memories, all of the lessons, all of the skill building, absolutely everything that happened to you today gets filed away like books returning to a library system. If you didn't sleep, you wouldn't have any memories. And so it's critically important for your ability to focus, for your ability to build knowledge, for your ability to become stronger and more resilient, for your ability to be productive, for you to sleep so that you can take everything that happened today, and while you're busy sleeping, you can store it away as knowledge that you're building on. You must visualize the steps that lead you to the thing that you want, not the end goal. This is a major mistake that people make. They manifest improperly because all they do is focus on the end goal. If you've ever made a vision board, think about what you put on the vision board. You put up just the beach house or the $1 million in the bank, or you crossing the finish line, or you launching that business, or you having the body that you want, or you driving the Maserati, whatever it is. The end goal is what you put up on a vision board. That is not what you're going to do when you manifest. If you start focusing on crossing the finish line of the marathon, that is a one-way ticket to being unmotivated and completely discouraged. In fact, research shows that if all you do is focus on the thing that you want, and you just focus on that vision of you and your bikini body, or you with the love of your life on your arms, or you at the Oscars winning that award, or the Grammys, what happens is because you've only focused on the end goal, you start to feel really unmotivated and discouraged because you're nowhere near it. That's where manifesting comes in, because we're not going to focus on the end goal. You got to pick something that you want in order to get started. But manifesting isn't about the end. It's about the bridge. It's about going from where you are here to where you want to go. Imagine that there is a bridge that connects where you are right here with what you dream about doing. Now, that dream could be to be a Grammy Award winning singer-songwriter. That dream might be to have a family of your own. That dream might be to have a beach house or a ski house, or to take a trip to Fiji. That dream can be whatever the hell you want it to be. But when it comes to manifesting, Once you've given yourself permission to dream with the lid off and really want what you want, to feel the pull of that thing, now we got to talk about the path that connects where you are with where you want to go. And this is all about visualizing the little steps. There's a lot of research that proves why visualizing the steps is the most important thing that you could do. There was a study done at UCLA, for example, where they were researching manifestation and the power of visualization, and they broke students into two groups. And they had Group A, we're going to call these the vision board group. They had Group A close their eyes, visualize in their mind, and feel in their body themselves taking the test and then walking up to a board where the test's scores were posted and finding their name and seeing an A+. That's what Group A, the vision board group, were told to do, to visualize themselves achieving what they wanted. Group B, we're going to call these the hard workers. These students were coached in this research project to close their eyes and to visualize going back to their dorm room, sitting down at the desk and studying and staying up late and putting in the work, studying and preparing for the tests. Now let me ask you a question. Which group do you think did better on the actual test? Was it Group A, the vision board group, who were taught to visualize and picture themselves walking up to a board and seeing the A+? Or was it Group B, the hard work group, the group that was taught to close their eyes and visualize and seeing themselves doing the work to study for the test? Well, if you answered Group A, you're wrong. If you answered Group B, you got the correct answer. The reason why Group B, the students who visualized studying for the tests, got better test scores, is because when you visualize yourself doing the work, visualizing it leads you to doing the work. And it's only through actions that you will get the result that you want. Preparing your mind and visualizing yourself doing it lowers your resistance and leads to you taking the action. That's why manifesting works. You know, the same is true in sports. There's all kinds of research in sports psychology. In fact, our Olympic athletes for the U.S. Olympic team, they hire sports psychologists to train our top Olympic athletes, particularly after they've been injured, in visualizing themselves competing. When you coach an athlete to mentally rehearse every single detail about going through the competition, you are training the mind, body, and spirit to show up and dominate. This is particularly true for athletes after they've been injured and they're stepping back into competition. If you've been injured in competition, you're naturally going to feel anxious. You're naturally going to be nervous. Your brain and nervous system circuitry is now programmed with the intensity from that injury, the memory from the injury. So of course it's natural to bring that into your pre-competition feelings about it, right? So manifestation properly, remember what it is. Manifesting is preparing your mind, body, and spirit to do the work. It's aligning your mind, body, and spirit with what you want. It removes the obstacles that would normally stop you, which then prepares and motivates you to take the actions to succeed. So in the case of athletes who visualize themselves and see themselves doing all the steps over and over, they're removing the nerves. They're removing all the programming related to the injury. They are preparing their mind, body, and spirit to go in and frickin' dominate. And so are you. Tell me, is there some project or some area of your life or a business or a goal or some change that you want to make that you feel like you think about all the time, but you just can't seem to push through all of that thinking or push through the fatigue or the overwhelm or how do I get started, right? You can't seem to just push through. Is there some area of your life where you feel that way? If so, I want you to write it in the comments, okay? I see I want to work with animals. I see somebody going, oh my gosh, I keep thinking about doing a TikTok account. Oh, I want to get control of my addiction. Oh, I want to launch a business. Oh, I really want to get a degree, but I feel like it's too late. And you may be telling yourself that things just feel like it's too late, Mel. Like I got a divorce and now it feels like my life is frozen. I see some of you saying. I feel like ever since I got the divorce or the pandemic hit or I lost the job or I took the wrong job or I moved to the wrong place or I realized that I wanted to start this thing and I started it, but now it's stalled out and I'm embarrassed to keep starting. I want to finish my PhD. I want to be persistent with the gym. I want to get back to creating art. I see all this stuff that y'all are writing down. It's beautiful. I see so many of you saying that you have a little side hustle and you know that you want to turn your attention towards it, but you just can't seem to literally push through whatever it is, the fear, the overwhelm, the busyness of your life, to laser focus on what really matters to you. And I think that's why it's so painful, because you're not going to stop really wanting and longing for those things that you keep thinking about everybody. They're going to linger for the rest of your life. You're going to have to, at some point, make a decision that it is important enough to you to make changes so that the thing that you want to see happen, or the life that you don't want to miss out on, or the degree that you always longed to get, or the way that you want to feel in your body, or the energy. For me, a big theme recently has been about loneliness. I am so lonely in my personal life because of the pandemic, because our kids have launched, because we're moving to Vermont, because I'm always working. Like, I can see very clearly that I have tried to solve loneliness in my personal life by working all the time. And that's not the right solution for loneliness. And so I even see all this. And so I'm glad that you can see an area of your life where you feel this friction and tension because you know that you want to focus more time and energy there, but there's so much resistance and there's so much friction and there's so much else going on that it is robbing you of the ability to push forward toward the life that you really want to be living. And look, it's not going to happen overnight, but so let me tell you this sentence, this truth about life that I truly love, that always kicks me in the rear end, honestly. And here it is. No one is coming. That's it. No one's coming. No one is going to come into your life and do the work for you. No one is going to come into your life and just remove your problems. No one is going to come into your life and make your dreams come true. When it comes to the changes that you want to make, when it comes to the things that you long for in your heart, when it comes to the music that you want to put out into the world, or the TikTok account that you want to create, or the degree that you want to get, or the life you want to build after divorce, or after your partner dies, or after, you change jobs, or after the kids launch. When it comes to those things that you deeply long for, deserve, and desire, no one's coming. You are not too late. If you're breathing, you're watching this video, you have plenty of time to create a life that makes you happy, to create a life that is full of meaning for you, whatever that means. You have plenty of time to take control, to heal. It is so important for you to hear that you have plenty of time. But no one's coming. At some point, you have to make a decision. And you'll often hear me say, you're one decision away from a different life, a better life. But you have to make the decision. No one's coming to make the decision for you. You have to decide that you are done feeling beaten up. You're done feeling lost. You're done feeling stuck. You're done feeling isolated. That all that crap that you've been enduring, you're freaking done.
You have to decide that.
I find that even when change is exciting, it's still scary. Even when you know that this big move that you want to make, this big goal that you want to achieve is something that you're meant to do, even though you know it, it feels overwhelming. We found an incredible apartment in Boston and are negotiating right now a place. And I had nightmares last night about this apartment. Nightmares. Why? Well, because anything new, any change that you want to make is going to require you to literally end things in your old life. You see, I think that so many of us, there are two lives that we have. There's the life that you're currently living, and then there's the one that you're going to live next. Hello, whoever's flying that jet. I'm going to say that again. We all have two lives. The life you're currently living and the life you're going to launch next. And when you're in the middle of thinking about changes and making big changes in your life, I feel like it's almost like you're walking across a suspension bridge as you're building it. And so I have become so indecisive about everything. Like I noticed last night I was trying to reach out to somebody that was recommended to me as a potential person to hire as an executive producer for this big podcast we're launching this fall in Boston. And I couldn't even get myself focused to write the email. Now, the reason why is because when you're on edge, when you're overwhelmed, when you feel stressed or scared about something, your nervous system kicks into a state of alert, and that impacts your brain's ability to focus. So what do you need when you feel that way? I'll tell you what you need. You need to hit the freaking reset button. You need to get your mindset back in check. You got to focus on the simple things that you can do every day to make yourself feel steady and secure and clear, even as everything is changing around you.
If you expect to achieve your goals, if you expect to reach your potential, if you expect to have your dreams come true, what I'm about to explain to you is mission critical. You must become a master at visualization. Now, for those of you that are like, what the heck is she talking about? I did not sign up for some sort of meditation, woo-woo spiritual thing here. Don't worry. This is Mel Robbins. There's always science and research involved in everything that I talk about. So visualization is a extraordinarily powerful skill. And you may have heard of the law of attraction. You may have heard of the word visualization. You may have heard of the word manifesting. I call it seeing signs. So I'm a master at seeing positive signs. I am a master of creating coincidences. I have the world's most incredible luck. You want to know why? Because I understand the science and the skill of visualization. I know that your brain, it is a gigantic detective machine. Your brain is a filter. Your brain is constantly looking for evidence. And that's good news. It's good news when you know how to use it to your advantage. Let me explain. So your brain has a system in it. Here's the technical term. It's called the reticular activating system. It is a network of neurons all up in here. And what is the job of the reticular activating system? It is a filter system. It's basically a system that allows certain information in your brain and it blocks out other information. And guess who programmed that filter? You did. And so did the people from your past. And so if you constantly feel like you're unlovable, guess what? Your reticular activating system is going through the day and it is going to point out every single piece of evidence that confirms that negative belief that you have. If you think that people don't like you at work, the reticular activating system, the filter, it is literally going to be looking for evidence to confirm that belief all day long.
This is one of the reasons why we have such a problem with politics in this country. This is why there's something called a confirmation bias. Confirmation bias means your mind loves to read things that you agree with, because reading things that you agree with confirms your filter. Why do we have a reticular activating system? There's a really important reason why you have this. The reason why is if your brain let in everything. Have you ever looked at a Facebook page? Have you noticed how many words are on a standard Facebook page, and the ad over here and the ad over here and the ad over here and the ad and the news feed right here and the stuff up here and all this over here? If your brain took in everything at equal value, your head would literally explode off your shoulders. Your brain would melt down. And so the reticular activating system protects your brain by filtering information and only letting in stuff that it agrees with. So that's the scientific reason and mandate for why you got to get busy reprogramming that thing. Because if you live like I have lived for a very long time, one of the beliefs that I had, we're going to be talking about this a lot this month, one of the beliefs that I had for a very long time is that I was a bad person, that I was not lovable, that I did not deserve to be a good person, that people didn't think I was a good person, and consequently, that led me to do a lot of hurtful things to myself. It led me to do a lot of hurtful things to people that I cared about, and it really damaged decades of my life. And I believed it. I believed it, and it drove my actions, and I saw evidence everywhere. If you're going to do a mindset reset, you've got to change what you believe about yourself. And so for those of you that had a very negative assessment of 2018 and you're feeling down about your goals already as you look at 2019, you have a very negative belief system about yourself. And that's going to stop right now.
Number one, the secret to an optimistic mindset. You got to be maniacal about your intake. Negativity in here means negativity in your body gets stored here and negativity comes out here. It becomes this loop of negativity. And so in order to build a positive mindset, I want you to be maniacal about positive input. That means really watch your news intake. Do not be watching it every day. Get the facts. Get what you need to know from a trusted, measured, calm, factual source, and then turn that off, okay? That's number one. Number two, edit your social media. Anything on your social media feeds should be helping you be more resilient, more optimistic, more positive. Anything that you're following that triggers you, that is negative, that rubs you the wrong way. You know, one of the things that I've noticed, I have some favorite celebrities that I have followed for a while because I think they're funny, or I love just kind of their sense of humor. But there are so many people that I have muted right now because I think that what they're doing online is so freaking out of whack. Seeing people give us advice about quarantining from the back of their estates and mansions, telling us to donate when they're not saying they're donating, seeing this kind of tone deaf celebrity thing going on. I'm normally not a negative person about that, but I have muted so many accounts because it's not doing anything for me. And you got to be selfish right now. You have got to edit your social media feeds so that your social media feeds are helping you build an optimistic and positive mindset. And so every day, the second I see something, mute, unfollow, because negativity in means negativity gets stored here, means negativity goes out there from you. You want to put positivity, optimism, tools, strategies, things that keep you laughing, things that keep you giving you things that you can use right now. The second you start getting overloaded with Corona stuff, mute that stuff, edit your social media based on what you need. That's number one, maniacal about your intake. You want to focus on what's in your control, okay? That's what you want to do. If you're going through a divorce, you're waiting for lawyers. And this process of anticipation, this process of having to be patient, the first thing that you need to do is ask yourself, and this is, by the way, stuff that I talk about in the High Five Habit book. This is about how to cultivate a high five attitude when things are out of your control, how to cultivate a high five attitude when you are waiting and are feeling this anticipation, how to cultivate a high five attitude when you might be disappointed. I mean, you're not going to have everything be a win in life. And so rule number one, you want to put 150% effort in on something that you care about, okay? So if you are sitting here and you're waiting to hear back on something, or you're waiting to do something, you want to ask yourself, have I put 150% in? One of the reasons why I just fired off literally a 3-page detailed email to this landlord, basically saying these girls need a win. They all have jobs after working internships their senior year. They are respectful. They're not looking at your house like a frat house like so many other people will. They need individual rooms in case they have to work remote. Like I went boom, 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 boom. They're looking for a home. Why did I do that? Because I think it's really important when you are trying to make something happen in your life, really important when you're going for something, that you can personally say to yourself, I have done 150%. I have gone all in, okay? And so I feel like, yeah, we went all in. We got our application in. We got the check submitted. We got the love letter submitted. And now what I do when I'm waiting is I literally say, I've put in 150%. I can give myself that high five. I can look the woman in the mirror and I can say, I know I did everything that I could. What will eat you alive, everybody, is if you're waiting and you know that you didn't put 150% in. It will eat you alive to be waiting to hear back on a job or on some test result or on an application to a program or a school, and to know that you didn't put in 150%, that's what's going to cause the disappointment. Letting go is really, really hard. And when you are going to start a new chapter in your life, when you're going to try to launch yourself forward, it requires you to let go. And the reason why letting go of whatever it may be, a relationship, a friendship, a job, in my case, the place that you lived for the 24 years, the reason why letting go is so hard is because we tend to grip very tightly to things that are familiar. And when you grip really tightly to the things that you know, it's going to be really hard. In fact, it's going to be impossible to launch yourself forward. And we grip really tightly to the things that we know because it feels safe. And the truth is, change is really, really, really hard because you're holding on to things that are no longer meant for you. If this is speaking to you, I want you to write into the comments right now. What are you holding on to? Whether it's out of fear or self-doubt or overwhelm, you're just gripping so tightly. What are you holding on to that you know is no longer meant for you? I guarantee you're probably going to write a friendship, a job, a relationship. Maybe it's a way of eating or treating your body. Maybe it's a way of thinking that you're holding on to. Maybe you're just gripping tightly to staying stressed and tense and in a state of fear. You can hold on to a way of thinking, and that can keep you stuck for decades. I wanted to bring this up because I have been thinking a lot about this idea of gripping and holding on. And I think if you've followed me for a while, you probably heard me say that you are one decision away from a different life, better life, a life that is full of more joy, full of happiness, full of you feeling connected and alive and just engaged in your life again. Just one decision away. And the first decision that will change everything is to let go, to stop gripping, and to find the confidence and the courage and the clarity to let go of what's no longer serving you and to turn yourself toward what you truly want in your life. If you know the moment that you started to think, wow, I got to change myself to fit in. I can't be gay. I can't have kinky hair. I don't like the color of my skin because I feel like there's something wrong with me. Society gave you that message. Your parents did. Maybe a bully said something to you. I see somebody writing the way that I walk. I see somebody talking about the texture of their hair. I see somebody saying, I always felt like there was something wrong with me. Well, let me tell you something, everybody. I never fit in with any particular groups of friends. Let me tell you something. Every one of you is now going, I remember that feeling because I was the only immigrant in my class. I was the only Muslim in my class. I didn't look like the other people. I didn't feel like the other people. My father was so critical, right? When you start to get this message from society or other people or just this perception that you have that something's wrong with you, this is where your obsession with changing yourself to fit in begins. This is where your obsession with people pleasing, this is where this sense that you don't belong anywhere that you go began. And it can become a habit. And so we're going to unpack this because what I want you to understand is that you literally came into this world perfect, whole, and complete. You are wired to love yourself. You're wired for love. That's why you miss it. You're wired for self-acceptance. And the world taught you that there's something about you that needs to be changed in order to be liked or loved. And it's simply not true. When you can come back home to yourself and you can accept and love yourself first, exactly where you are, exactly where you're not, then you'll know the secret to going out in the world and not feeling like you never really belong anywhere or you constantly need to tweak yourself or how you show up in order to be accepted by people. When you accept yourself as you are, when you love yourself as you are, other people liking or loving you is just a bonus, but it doesn't change how you feel about yourself. And one of the things that will help you to do the work to create the things that you want in your life is it will help you if you train your mind to start spotting evidence as you're doing the work, as you're going through your day. It will help you if you train your mind to start scanning the world and spotting evidence that yes, indeed, the world is sending you positive signals that things are going to work out. Now, why is it important to train your mind to help you get what you want? Well, the reason why is because if you get into a negative mindset, if you start thinking, this business is never going to work. Why even bother? Or I'm never going to meet anybody. It's nothing but losers out there. Look at all these idiots on Hinge. Why the hell should I keep doing this? If you allow your mind to start to rest in a pessimistic, negative, protective, scared, and doubtful stance, your mind will continue to show you reasons why there's nobody on Hinge worth talking to. Your mind will continue to show you all the reasons why you will never make it in business. Your mind will continue to show you all the reasons why you're never going to lose that weight and be able to tuck in your shirt, as my friend Corinne Crabtree always talks about, that transformational moment. And when your mind goes negative, your mind starts to scan the world and will show you more reasons to stop. And the power of training your mind to spot positive signs is very simple. The power is that your mind will start to show you reasons to keep going. Your mind will help you take the step. Your mind will encourage you to feel optimistic, to feel empowered. Just like you woke up today on a Tuesday
and it was February 22nd, 2022, and those numbers are lining up, and that makes you in your heart and soul go, whoa, something cool could happen today. Like that only happens like once in my lifetime, those numbers are going to line up like that. Today is a really cool day. Let's go do something with this. You could create that kind of attitude every single freaking day of your life. You could. If you train your mind and if you start taking action. And training your mind is the key piece that we're going to talk about. So for those of you that have read The High Five Habit, one of the things that I talk about a lot is every single day find a naturally occurring heart-shaped object in the world. It could be a stone. It could be a leaf. It could be a cloud. It could be a shape in your coffee. Hey, Chris, if we've got anything around here that looks like a heart, hand it to me. And the reason why I love telling you to start playing a game with yourself where you start your day going, mind, brain, show me some heart. Oh, what is this? Come here.
Dog treat.
Oh my God, it's a dog treat. Look at this, guys. What shape is that? That right there is a heart. There we go. Check that out. If you say, brain, mind, show me a heart today, guess what's going to happen? That damn dog biscuit, you're going to be like, there's a heart. You're going to look out at the sky and you're going to see a heart shape. Oh, right there in the mountains. There's a heart shape in the mountains in southern Vermont. You're going to see it in the clouds. What you're doing when you tell your mind what's important to you is you're telling your mind and the filter in your brain to change in real time and allow into your consciousness what's important to you. And if you want to see hearts, by God, those damn dog treats are going to start looking like hearts, everybody. That's how you train your mind. It's freaking incredible. And if you want to see evidence of this, follow me on social media. If you follow me, Mel Robbins, on social media, you will see every day I am reposting your stories of finding heart shapes around the world. Now, why is this important? Well, it's important because it's a simple way to prove to you that your mind changes in real time. That if you get serious about becoming more positive and optimistic and encouraging of yourself, if you get serious about saying, this, I don't want to see all the reasons why I'm unhappy. I don't want to see everybody else in the world that's launched a business or that's lost weight and is healthy or that has a really good marriage or relationship. And I don't want to see that and have my mind process it as evidence that it's never going to happen for me. I want my mind to reprogram itself and see other people's businesses and see other people getting healthy and see other people in relationships. And I want my mind to say, yeah, if they can do it, I can do it. That's evidence. If that person can get healthy, so can I. If that person can find somebody on Hinge, so can I. If that person can reconcile with their child, so can I. Other people can become evidence that you can have it too. Right now, your mind is so f***ed up from your past that when you see what other people have and you don't have it, you can't actually translate it through a negative mind and see that that's evidence that you're going to win. You see it like, oh, somebody already stole what I wanted. That sucks. And so what I want to start to open your mind to is that you have the power to train your mind to filter the world differently. Just like you woke up and you saw the date today, 2/22/22, and your brain saw that and was like, whoa, this is a once in a lifetime day, everybody. You are never going to have another day that lines up like this. Ever. What are you going to do with this day? Your mind already interpreted this as, wow, something cool could happen. And if you tell yourself something amazing is going to happen today, something will, because you're going to be looking for it. I swear to God, something will. Something will. If you want to see the good all around you, you got to tell your mind you want to see the good. And this just isn't a bunch of horseshit, everybody. This isn't toxic positivity. There is a filter in your brain called the reticular activating system. The reticular activating system. I call it the RAS. I like to think about it like a giant hairnet on your head. And this RAS sits over your brain. I'm probably getting this wrong. I'm not a neuroscientist. I could give a shit about getting it right. I just need you to know the basics here so that you can apply it to your life. Okay. You don't need a PhD to use the science that super smart people have been working really hard on in order to apply it to your life. That's what I'm here for in your life. I'm here to translate this stuff into simple, believable, and actionable things that you can do to take all this super cool stuff that people are researching and apply it to your normal person's everyday life to help you change from the inside out. And one of the coolest things that you have at your disposal is you have a whole system in your body that you can train and change. And one of those things that you can train and change that is impacted by that word you're hearing a lot of, neuroplasticity, that just means that things are able to twist and bend and change, and you're able to learn new things for as long as you're alive. As long as you're breathing, everybody, you got a chance to change the way that you think. As long as you are breathing, you got a chance to change from the inside out how you experience your life. As long as you are still here watching me, people, you got a chance to create a new experience in your life. And one of the things that helps a lot is understanding that right now, all of the bullshit from your past has jammed the filter in your mind, body, and spirit, the reticular activating system. And it is clouding your ability to look at the world around you and see hearts. Remember this? Dog treat, hearts. Look at that. There's a heart right there.
Because you made it this far in the video, I want to celebrate you. Most people start and don't finish. Most people never actually follow through. Most people say they want something, but they don't ever do the work to actually get it. But you are different. You are special. Believe Nation, you made it here all the way to the end, and I love you. So as a special celebration, if you put a hashtag believe down in the comments below on this video, I will showcase you and celebrate you somewhere on the screen in a future video because you are awesome.
For 10 more amazing reels from Tony Robbins, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
My original teacher was Jim Rohn when I met him when I was 17. And I wanted to know why all my fathers were broke, because they were good men. You know, I loved all four of my fathers. And I remember him saying, Tony, we're all equal as souls, but we're not equal in the marketplace.